Hello, Nate.
Yeah,
How you doing?
good.
How's the music business going?
It's going well. It's going well. Just getting my name out there, you know?
Okay, you know who this is, don't you?
Truth be told, I have no idea.
Hollywood Music TV Canada.
Oh, okay, okay. What's going on?
Well, this is your interview for today.
Okay.
Okay. Can you tell us about Too Mental? A little bio, perhaps?
Bio.
Yeah, how you got started and...
Well, basically, I went to a boarding school. Well, actually, I first started becoming a poet. You know, I lived around the world, and I lived in Saudi Arabia. And from there, you know, I started writing poetry. And then I went to boarding school about a couple years later, and that's when I really got into hip hop. So, you know, it just evolved, or I wouldn't even want to say evolve. It was just a transition from poetry to hip hop lyrics. So,
Okay, do you have any albums?
what's up?
Do you have any albums out right now?
Right now, I got one album. It's called Destroy and Rebuild, and it released last year. So, you know, right now I'm kind of, you know, in the process of promoting Destroy and Rebuild, but at the same time, just getting music out there, you know, doing what I love doing. So.
What are some of the highlights of Destroy and Rebuild?
What's up? I can't hear you.
What are some of the highlights of Destroy and Rebuild?
Basically, my whole focus behind Destroy and Rebuild is, you know, in essence, my album's out here to destroy and rebuild the game, the hip hop game. But you know, in a broader perspective, you know, it's just to, you know, rebuild society or rebuild our culture, you know, and put in more of a positive change within our culture. Because basically, you know, throughout your youth, you know, music is the biggest influence. You know, like when I was a kid, I really focused on, you know, I listened to my parents, I listened to what they told me, but you know, my biggest inspiration was music. You know, I used that as a guide in my life. So, you know, that changed my whole perspective about life. So I think, you know, in essence, with Destroy and Rebuild, that's what I'm trying to do, is reinforce those positive, you know, tones to society.
Okay, what are your major influences when it comes to your music?
Oh man, I call them teachers, and I don't really call them like, you know, people I look up to, but more so I call them teachers. The biggest influence was Tupac. You know, ever since I was a kid, I always listened to Tupac. Ranging from Tupac to Nas to, Tech Nine to Stone Temple Pilots, Pearl Jam, Pink Floyd. You know, just anything that comes from the heart, really, and inspires me to do what I do.
Has your music changed or evolved? Like, how has it evolved or changed since you first started playing?
Well, I mean, it's evolved in a sense. If you want to put it on an evolutionary standpoint, it's evolved as, you know, as a talent basis. You know, I've become a lot more talented at, you know, rapping on a beat. But as in, like, you know, just becoming an artist, you know, it's not even really evolving. It's just growing into what I am. You know, a famous poet once said is that, you know, when you first become a poet, it's more of the art of imitation. You know, imitating your favorite artist, and then you just kind of grow into that sweater, and you become yourself. And that's what, you know, these past couple of years, I've grown into that sweater of poetry, and you know, I just became myself, and from then on, it's just, you know, it's been amazing.
How did you come up with the name Too Mental?
Oh, it was actually I was at Moore Hill, the boarding school I went to in Kansas. I was like 16 years old, and I was taking a shower at the time, and I was just coming up with names, random names, and basically I came up with Too Mental. But the whole, you know, theory behind Too Mental is that, you know, I'm constantly thinking. I think way too much, you know.
Oh, cool.
And I think that's my strength, but it's also my weakness. I'm always thinking. I'm always contemplating. I'm always, you know, making sure every move I make is the right move. So, you know, everything I do is times two, basically. So I call myself Too Mental.
Okay. So, with that name in mind, you obviously have, what's your constant changing approach and to recording and mixing your music?
What's up?
What's your constant changing approach to recording and mixing music?
what's my constant approach?
Yeah, as changing approach.
Oh, my changing approach.
Yeah, to recording and mixing your sound.
Like, I mean, like, it's basically just being original. You know, it's not even like it's not even really changing. You know, just by being original, because every moment of your life, you're always in a different point. You know, you're never at, you know, same consistent point. You're always at a different point. So by being original and repping from the heart, you're always changing. You know, so I think that's my biggest, you know, secret. But at the same time, I think, you know, just being spiritual and having faith, I think that also allows for change as well. So.
Do you have spiritual influences in your music?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I mean, my biggest, you know, spiritual influence is God, but I also see my, you know, my people, my friends, my peers as spiritual influences as well. You know, and that's always, I'm very spiritual in my music, and I think, you know, having a messaging in music is probably the best, you know, means to really reach people. You know, you'll find that, you know, you could be really big into like that real, you know, shallow type of music, but you'll find that the biggest artists throughout history has always been real spiritual, you know, and so that's my foundation, is just being spiritual and doing what I do from the heart, staying true to that.
What are your major themes and topics for the songs you write? What do you draw from inspiration?
Dude, like, it's not even like, you know, just telling a story, you know, and really, you know, my major theme is just getting people to think. I mean, that's my motivation, you know, and having something true, a true story either about myself or my friends or what I see around me. But, you know, my major motivation is getting people to think. If I'm not getting people to think, then I'm not, you know, achieving my goals in music. And if I'm not helping people grow along with me, then, you know, I shouldn't be in the game. But the reason I'm in the game is to get people to think. And, you know, that's my biggest inspiration.
Did you ever have any challenges to, like, producing your CD, Destroy and Rebuild?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like, you know, my producer, along with Slim Dog, my producer in Colorado, very humble cat, and my producer in San Antonio, my crew M7, D. Watts, you know, it's been one hell of a challenge. You know, you know, it took about 6 months to lay the album down. But, you know, in the process, I was going to school full time and I was working. So, you know, by the end of the album, I was just, you know, spiritually, mentally, and physically drained. But, you know, it's just, you know, the album's a very positive album, but it's a very dark album. So when you get into that dark realm, you know, it drains spiritually, you know. So it was an emotional roller coaster the whole time. But, you know, I learned a lot from it. You know, what doesn't kill you just makes you stronger.
Okay. Can you tell us about your recording environment?
My recording environment. Well, right now, you know, I got a studio up in San Antonio that I go to with M7, and I have a studio at my own place. So, you know, it's just a real comfortable environment. You know, it's you know, a lot of people think that they have to go to some professional studio to get their work done. But if you have three, four G's, you can have a professional studio at your place and really put something together. But you know, you know, I like to be surrounded by something more comfortable, something that's me, you know, not something that's outside my realm, you know, so I can write and, you know, be in touch with myself. So, you know, my recording environment is a very positive environment, yeah.
Have you performed any shows lately in 2007, and do you have any upcoming shows live?
Yes, I performed some shows these past couple months. You know, all throughout 2007, you know, along with my crew members, Johnny Danger, Nick Jones, Mo, D. Watts, Ted James, you know, along with them. But, you know, I do got a show coming up next month on February 16th at the venue in San Antonio. It's going to be live, you know, it's going down at a 30-minute set. So, you know, whoever's listening to this, you know, come and check it out because it's going to be raw.
Have you ever done any remixes or covers for other bands?
I did a remix with The Unknown, a very influential group overseas in Europe. Very, very talented group, very humble people. And it was called The Wall Remix, which Slim Dog worked on. And basically, that's about it.
Okay, are you affiliated with any underground scenes?
I'm affiliated with affiliated with M7. You know, that's my crew. You know, that's the label I rep. But besides that, my family, Slim Dog, Noble, nothing but family, But besides that, I just stick to myself and do what I love doing. I got some side projects on the way though with Little Nate, very influential person among the Ethiopian community. So we're putting some projects out as well. So, it's just, anything that can get people to think I'm in and I'm involved with, but I'm open to anything that's real. So.
Can you tell us a little bit about M7 and what it stands for and what they do?
Say it again, please.
Can you tell us a little bit about M7, what they do?
Well, basically, M7 is like, ever since I was a little kid, I've always wanted to be a rapper ever since I was like 10 years old, from listening to Dr. Dre and stuff. But, I've lived around the world, and I lived in Georgetown, Texas when I was like 13. And I met these guys, my older brother's friends, who were rappers, very, very talented rappers. And I wanted to be like them ever since I was 13. And, I started becoming a rapper at 16. And I graduated from a school in Kansas, so I decided to, leave Atchison, Kansas to come down to Austin and be part of M7. And our whole thing, the title goes Millennium 7. Our whole theme is just to be real, keep it real, do what you do, but also everything you rep comes from the heart, and just provide the movement. So, M7 movement, what we're trying to do is just revolutionize the minds of people. And, in the process, tribute in any way to the community.
What do you think of the music industry today? The pros and cons of it and where it's going?
The music industry today, man, I'm not trying, I don't want to call anybody out, but I'm very disappointed at how the music industry is today. I wish it was more, I wish it was more positive. I wish it was, more of a family environment. But in the music industry, people are very sleazy. It's every man for himself, so, I basically, try to keep family around me at all times, and just, and work through that, But there's some good aspects to the music industry. There's a lot of good people, in the music industry, trying to help us out. So, if anybody trying to come up, you just gotta push through and meet those humble people, and there's no limit to what you can achieve once you meet those people.
Okay. What's your criteria for a well-mixed or engineered song?
Oh, my criteria?
Mm-hmm.
Basically, any song you do, any song you produce, it depends on the song. It really just depends on the song. It depends on what you like. But my nickname is Reverb. All my friends call me Reverb. That's like the salt to the steak. For me. So basically when I produce a song, I dub it 2 or 3 times. I also compress it, and I also put a little bit of reverb on it. But it just depends on what you're listening to. It depends on the beat that's in sequence with the song, but and when you're producing, you gotta have the ear, you have to have the musical ear for it. So, if it's something you feel, then, it just kind of depends who you are.
Okay. What do you think of the internet today as a means of marketing your music, collaborating with promotional people, other bands, and your fan base?
I think, the internet's amazing. Internet's absolutely amazing. It's become a universal tool to really reach people. At the same time, you still feel like you're a crab in a bucket because, everybody and their mama want to rap. So it's, you just got to keep it real to what you do and reach people. But besides that, it's my fan base. I have a fan base in Austin, but really my fan base is more on a worldwide level. I got a lot of fans, all around the world. And so I think if it wasn't for the internet, I wouldn't be reaching as many people as I thought I would be. So I'm reaching a lot of people on a worldwide basis. So I think the internet is definitely a key element to what we're about in the music industry right now.
Do you use the internet to send like your tracks through and get them produced and published?
Oh, to find like beats?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I met Slim Dog through the internet, through MySpace. So, and that was one of the biggest moves I've made in my life. So, the internet's definitely, I find a lot of beats on SoundClick, and I hook up with a lot of different artists on the internet, so it's definitely a good marketing tool.
Because that's what most bands are doing nowadays. They're sending tracks through the internet to be produced and mixed, and then they go back and that's how they're making their albums.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's there's a couple guys I'm working with right now, Derelict and his group. But yeah, I mean, I haven't even met some of these people. I haven't even met face to face, and I'm doing rap songs with them. So it's definitely, good marketing to get your name out there. And I can converse with somebody in New York, and I'm in Texas, and we're on the same level, so we do a rap song. So that is definitely awesome.
Okay. Yeah, there seems to be most bands are going that way because the record labels. And do you have a label? Are you looking for one?
Well, basically, I'm part of M7 as a group, but I am looking for something like a distribution deal with a bigger label to get my music out there. I really, I feel like I can really reach people on a larger basis. So I'm definitely looking for something. Maybe some kind of distribution deal to really, promote my music.
Okay. What do you think of our music site at Hollywood Music TV?
Oh, I think it's dope. I think it's very creative, very original, and I think you guys got something going on. And I mean that's what we're all trying to do right now is just come up together. And I really think you guys are definitely putting something out there that's positive and can really make a huge impact on society as a whole.
What are your hopes and goals for the future and plans for 2008?
Like I said, it's Sundal, 2008. That's my first name, Nate. So it's 2008 is the year. I feel like 2008 is definitely going to be the year where we really start coming up in this game and really start reaching people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's already happening as we speak. I got some things going on with WWS magazine in California. I got some things going on with Cashbox magazine. I made it #1 on Cashbox. So it's just a matter of time. And to all my people that supported me, thank you so much. And we're all coming up together.
What advice do you have for any musician or bands wanting to break into the music scene today?
I mean, my main advice is just keep it real. Take it from the heart, and nothing's gonna fail you. Even if you're a fan, anything you do in life, take it from the heart. Do what you do, but always represent from the heart. Stay true to yourself, and you won't fall. The moment you stop staying true to yourself, you're gonna fall. And that's the best wisdom I can give you.
Okay. Do you have any web addresses or URLs you'd like to plug in?
Yeah. If you are interested in my style or what I'm talking about, go to myspace.com/2mentalm7 or just Google 2mental. And also, go to m7music.com. Also go, check out Sundog's site, www.myspace.com/Sundog. And really, just look out for us as we're coming up.
Okay, are you involved in mixtape at all or promoting it?
I have no problem with mixtapes. From what I understand, I may have a chance of getting on this mixtape in Atlanta. I think mixtapes are a huge contribution to the music industry. If you guys ever get a chance, check out that movie Mixtape Inc. My homeboy produced, and it's a huge contributor to the hip hop game. So I'm not really into mixtapes, but I'm definitely down to be part of it.
Okay. Before we close our interview, do you have any shout outs?
Really, this is just a shout out to all my people out there doing what they do. Working 9 to 5, trying to survive and be a part of something big. So I appreciate the support and keep your head up.
Great. Thanks, Nate. It was a pleasure interviewing you.
Definitely. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.